Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second strategy session. The first one, I think some of you had attended, which was again five strategies to be a great leader. And here we are. And thank you. Actually, you all helped us. Many of you participated in the poll and helped us decide what the topic should be. And what better as a leader to learn the top five strategies to handle difficult people at work. Makarand and I are happy to have you here. And over the next 1 hour, we are going to be taking you through various strategies which we think are perhaps
We are
simple,
losing your
but
network.
really effective.
We are losing your network. At least
Oh,
you were frozen.
I see. Okay. All right. Is it better now? Am I back?
Yeah, now it's okay. But there was some
The
screen froze for a moment. Yeah.
the internet seems to be in a Sunday mood as well, I guess. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I was just welcoming everyone and saying that we're really happy to be here. And as you can see, it is a Sunday, and it is one of the days where we're like, oh, Sunday morning we have a session. And I was telling Makarand that I want to talk about this, right? Because as leaders and as professionals, we all face this. There are times where we are not at our 100% okay, let's go and conquer the world, but we choose to show up irrespective. And thank you all for showing up, because we are here because you are here. So thanks a ton. Mac, over to you. Would you like to say something before we jump in?
We lost. I don't know whether it's my internet or your internet. But
Okay. Do you want to say something before we start?
yeah. Good morning, everyone. Happy to see you on a Sunday morning. Looks like we are having some internet difficulties, and like Sushma mentioned, the internet is in the Sunday mood. So we'll try to make the most of it before something untowards on the internet side happens. So I think is my network clear now, Sushma? Yeah.
Yes.
So there is something on your end probably which is sketchy. Uh, so we'll flag you whenever something of that sort happens. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So quickly jumping into the introductions, for those of you who don't know, ReFindYou is my organization. I'm a counseling psychologist. I'm a certified success coach. I do a lot of Heal Your Life workshops. I'm also a Heal Your Life internationally licensed coach. I'm a psychogeometrics consultant, NLP practitioner. Basically, equip myself with all the possible tools to help people in their journeys to transformation and to be better versions of themselves. So we literally at ReFindYou abide by helping people in their journey to resolve, to evolve, and that's what we are here to do. To be very honest, and talking about Makarand.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm Makarand Kaprekar. I have a firm called Equipoise, which is into executive coaching and business consulting. I'm a certified executive coach, just like Sushma. I'm a OKR. If some of you are familiar with the concept of objective and key results, I'm a practitioner for that, which helps organizations put long, big, and a very excessive targets, which
Matt, can't hear you.
shops like these for a few years. And happy to see you all here in the morning.
Thanks, Matt. We lost you, so I think the internet across is a little bit in Sunday mood. Are you all able to hear us overall? Those of you on the call, can you just give a thumbs up if you can hear us? Or just reach out to the chat box and give us a yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Super.
Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you, Pooja. All right. So today, what we are going to attempt to do is to get an overview of your skills and traits with respect to people handling, because some of us are extremely good at it. Some people are good at some aspects of it. So we look at what you are great at, right? We're going to try and identify what kind of people trigger you at work specifically and life in general, and try and learn 5 powerful yet simple to implement strategies to handle difficult people, not just at work, but in life in general. Okay. So before we go in, and we hope that you've got your notepads handy and you are in an undistracted place so that you can completely be involved, right? And as we go along, right, next slide onwards, we will need you to participate. It's not going to be unidirectional. Only when you participate are we going to be able to move forward, right? So here are a few people that are going to come up in the next screen onwards, right? So when you look at the next person, we'd want you to reach out to the chat box and mention what comes to your mind when you see Miss B. What kind of a person do you think B would be? And specifically with respect to people handling, but overall, what kind of a sense do you get of traits? And pay attention to the background, pay attention to all the elements, because all of it is important in you getting a sense of it. Focused, all right. Dedicated, organized, yes. What else? How do
Looks
you
very,
think they'd be with respect to handling people? Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Mac.
no, I said, looks very structured also.
Yes, yes. Looks serious to me also, right? May not necessarily be very forthcoming. Like when I look at this person, I may think twice before approaching them to have a chat. You know, they seem like the no nonsense, let's get to the point kind of people.
Correct. True.
Right? Anything else that comes to your mind? Or do we move on to the next person? Just be aware as we look at these people, because we're going to kind of come back to all of them in a bit. Right? So we'll go to the next one now. What comes to your mind when you see this person? Like I said, we will need inputs to move forward.
One input is the person looks to be all over the place, as in multiple tabs open on the table or on the screen. Yeah.
Correct, correct. Too focused, doesn't care much about surroundings. Yes. Right. And it's so interesting, right? That even though this person's focused, their kind of focus looks so different from B's focus, because this person seems focused on a lot of things, a multitasker for sure.
Correct.
How about the body language? What do you all think about the body language of T as against B? Might be less empathetic. Yes, yes, multitasker for sure. This person definitely seems more no nonsense than the previous one, isn't it?
Yeah. Appears serious as well, just like the previous.
Yes, yes. Focused, yes. Should we move to the next one?
Yeah.
What about this one? What do you think will be this person's? What comes to your mind when you see him? Confused, worried? Yes. What else?
Looks lost.
Almost frozen with anxiety, right? I mean, that's what comes to my mind when I would look at this person,
Yeah,
right? Can really struggle at work,
true.
especially if they have to work with the previous two kind of people who seem to know exactly what's happening, right? Okay, moving on. What about this one? Happy? Yes. Happy go lucky,
Looks very approachable.
right? And might not seem to be very reliable in the first instance. Okay, interesting. Why do you say that, Pooja?
I mean, he seems to have been distracted also. The focus is not coming out from the picture. So we might have to interact with him to actually know, I mean, in the previous
Right.
photos, it seemed that that they are, actually focused. But here, that is not the first thing which comes to our mind when we see him. That's why I
Perfect.
say
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. In fact, so interesting you say this because he seems very involved with the call actually, to the extent he's put away his laptop. If you notice, it's shut, right? So yeah, so maybe focused on the call. So more people oriented perhaps as compared to the first two that we saw, who seemed very work focused, right? But so interesting. And going to the last one, what do you think about this person? Loves variety and colors, loves her job. Right. What else? Pay attention to all the elements, right?
Creative.
Right. Creative, organized, all right. Anything else that comes to your mind when you look at this person? Would this person also be a multitasker?
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Could be a multitasker, right? And definitely seems fun loving, right? Fun loving, free spirited, just overall very vibrant.
Yep.
Specific in what she wants in her table. That's an interesting observation. Right. So now that we've seen these different types of people, here are a few reflection questions for you, right? First, who do you relate with the most? And take a moment to mull over because all the three questions are going to be presented to you at the same time. Second, who do you relate with the least? And third, just basis what we've seen so far, who do you feel most triggered by? We give you 2 minutes to think about this and then come back and discuss. Is that all right, Matt?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to run back through the pictures one more time for everybody's benefit? As in, or
Sure.
if
I mean, if they
taken
want
notes.
it, if they remember it, then great. Do you all want to see the pictures once again? A thumbs up if you want to.
I think everybody's taken their notes. Good.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
thumbs up.
Pooja says yes. All right. Okay. Oops. This is the first one. Second one. Third. Fourth. And fifth.
Can it be a mix also?
Sure. Sure, of course. Yes, it could depend on the situation. But for most part now, usually at work, we may still relate with one or two types. We may not necessarily relate with all, but sure, it could be situation based. If you're done reflecting, we'd love to hear what you
Yeah.
have to say. You could either reach out to the chat box or you could unmute yourself and speak, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay. Gayatri relates most with tea. What traits do you relate with of tea? All right. Focused. Super.
So 1 and 5.
Okay. Mix of 1 and 5. Second pick is you relate with the least. All right. Second was tea, triggered by fourth. Okay. Interesting. Nice. How nice. Right. So, Gayatri, you're saying that the level of focus with all the required stuff handy, not like a one at a time thing. Everything's accessible. Super. Nice. And the others, what would you relate least with be? Okay. All right. How wonderful. Do you all see how 75% triggered by X? This is just brilliant, right? Because usually that is the profile. Someone who is so clear and so aware of what they want will be triggered by someone who's confused all the time. Think about it, right? And in the universe of people that we interact with, 75% of the people are different than us, right? And therefore, depending on the relatability, people who we absolutely don't relate with are the ones usually that we get triggered by the most, right? Because they show traits which seem crazy to us a lot of times. We're like, oh God, how can someone who's very clear would be like, how can someone be so confused? But the point is that there are people who are confused, right? Similarly, someone who does one thing at a time can get very easily triggered by someone who does like 100 things at a time, right? And it can be very unsettling for someone who calmly moves from one thing to another. Similarly, someone who's very work and process oriented could get triggered by someone who's very people oriented, right? So it is very fascinating to explore how these different people and how we interact with these people based on our traits, so this was a very basic glimpse of psychogeometrics that we've given you without really delving into the details of it. And this is one of the tools that we use in Chrysalis also. And with this I'm going to make way for Mac to talk a little bit about Chrysalis before we go to the rest.
Okay, thanks, Sushma. I think it's always whenever we see those 5 types of people, some new thoughts come up, and you try to relate to people in your life. Sometimes it's a mirror as well where you stand. Especially for me, I look at where I am. I'm not revealing where I am, but I know where I am or what kind of picture I kind of emulate and follow. So coming to Chrysalis, just give you all a little heads up on what this program is all about. This is designed for senior leaders in organizations and businesses who are looking to reset their mindset. We get stuck in our ways of working, especially if we are tenured and experienced for many years. Whatever has got us success sometimes becomes habit, and they serve us well for a certain time. And the point of evaluation is whether it is serving us at this moment of time or is it hindering us. So this program is designed for people to come for a 2.5-day retreat, 2 nights, 3 days, at a place in Alibag, a beautiful, quaint place close to the Ro-Ro boat junction, what is called port. And we invite people to be there to understand what are their triggers and what can be changing in themselves, because changing others is very difficult. It's never possible. It's a myth. So what can you do as a leader to change yourself, or look at your own triggers and then come back rejuvenated, reset, and recharged to become a better leader? So that's this program. It's going to happen on 6th, 7th, and 8th of February 2024. This is our 2nd edition. We did our first one in July in Lonavala at Duke's Retreat, a super successful program. Any one of you would have any questions, we'll be happy to answer through the program, or you could reach out to us separately as well.
Yeah, just to add to what Matt said, this is also something where we're taking corporate nominations. So if you think your organization would want to nominate either you or any other leaders, do let us know, and we're happy to send across the details. Okay. And with that, we come to the 5 strategies. And Matt, you can take this.
Yep, absolutely. So now, difficult people, I think we all, whenever this statement comes up, I'm sure right now you're creating a mental photo book in your life and saying, this one, that one, oh, there, this job, this person, could be person at work, could be, we are going to deal with people at work at the moment, but difficult people are all around us, right? And just as and to call it out at the start of the session, just as we think if there are difficult people around us, somebody else is thinking, I am that difficult person to them as well. So it goes both ways. So there are 5 strategies, and we'll go quickly through those. And the first one is listen. And the last thing that you want to do is to listen to a difficult person, right? And what happens during listening is, with experience, with time, and especially in the professional environment, we all start listening through filters. Do you agree that we all listen through filters? And I'll explain what those filters are, but if you understand what that filter term is, then you could give a thumbs up. Yeah, okay, thanks, Pooja. And the nature of this filter is that it is who is speaking rather than what is being spoken about. And if we have some experience of this person in the past, which has not been very pleasant, then even if they are going to give you the best possible solution for a problem that you're dealing with or a situation that you're handling, it's just because that person is saying it, it doesn't come off well. So you will always try to find fault or some shortcoming in what they are saying. Do you relate to that? Yes. Oh, that was a sound of capital
That's
yes.
with
Okay.
that. Yeah, can hear it
Okay.
loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Yeah. So the one way of listening again to get into the first is about the person, the filter. Normally we are, and you have a picture which shows that listen with an ear, and that's what we have been taught, and that's our culture. We are brought up to say, listen to people, be attentive. But listening is not only done by ears. Listening can be done through various means in terms of caps lock by mistake. Okay, no worries. Thank you, Gayatri. Listening doesn't have to be always through the ears. Obviously, that's one mode of listening, but observing, looking what people do, reading through emails, the way they draft, the language that they use, the way they behave in terms of body language. These are all means of listening. We don't qualify that as listening, but when we look at a person or an individual and as a whole persona, we can start getting patterns and cues. And when we start identifying those patterns and cues, then look at what we just did with the glimpse of what we did at the psychogeometrics, we can start looking at strategies in terms of how we can deal with or manage this kind of people. So listening is a very, very important skill. And when we observe, we kind of see that, oh, there has been a pattern. Now, when I'm talking about a pattern, can you relate to or have any examples? You don't have to reveal names. But when you look at listening and not just the ears, but if you look at some patterns, does something come to your mind that, okay, this is happening here? And I could have changed something in terms of way I was listening to this individual. Does anything come to your mind? Because this is a very, very powerful strategy, most missed by all of us. Okay. Because the difficulty not just comes when they speak to us. Okay. The difficulty comes when everything is happening concurrently, parallelly. Could be email, could be a meeting, could be just a glimpse, could be just a raise of an eyebrow when you are speaking.
Sometimes just that presence, isn't it?
Presence, yeah. Just it triggers you off. And so listen to the person's body language, listen to the person, what they are telling you, and listen for the unsaid. And this is very, very crucial. And this requires time and practice. Not everything that needs to be said has to be spelled out. So look for the unsaid. And we'll come back to that. Look for the unsaid. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah.
All right. Okay. The second strategy, and understand that all these put together is what is going to make it really powerful. We're not looking at them in isolation, right? The second strategy, and this is just so important, is don't judge, right? Now, can someone tell me what is the meaning of judging? Let's operationalize the word so we are all on the same page.
Everybody's in deep thinking mode. Or is it Sunday? Not liking
others' views. Okay. Yep. Is that being judgmental? Right. Jump to a conclusion with pre-notion. That's judgment, right? So there are two levels. Whenever we interact with people, before we observe, right? Yes, it may not be to our liking. Like when you see this picture of this person on this screen itself, right? You notice, you observe that he has a little bit of a snobbish look, right? A little bit of a disconnected look, and a little bit of a judgmental look even, right? Now that's an observation that he could be, and notice the choice of words. He could be judgmental. He could be a snob. He could be this. But based on my observation, if I jump to a conclusion saying, you know what, this guy is a snob. You know what, this guy is such a judgmental person. I don't like this person because this person is so. So what I have done in my head is I have passed a verdict about the person. It could either be because they did certain things which I dislike. It may not align with my values. It may be, you know, like the person is, like, for example, I may be a B and that person may be an S, and that S is someone that triggers me. As a result of which, I might end up judging the person, saying, oh God, how can they be so frivolous and fun-loving all the time when you're supposed to be serious at work, right? So when I observe, That's fine. I may have my likes and dislikes, which is okay too. But when I dismiss off someone by passing a verdict on that person, it's going to become difficult for me to handle that person, because the difficulty level of that person in my head has become like times 5 or times 10, right? Therefore, it's important that you don't judge, understanding that 75% of the people are different than I am, and we all coexist, and everybody is bringing in their strengths to the table, right? So I am free to dislike certain things that the other person has, their traits, their characteristics, whatever it may be, but I don't have to judge. I could observe, I could say, okay, I don't like it, but accept the person for who they are, right? It puts us then in a position of power by not getting triggered, right? Any thoughts on this before we move on?
So Sushma, what if it feels like they're doing it on purpose sometimes, right? I mean, we understand that we might have to put ourselves in the other shoe, but what if it
Right.
just feels like, they're least further and sometimes they're just, acting out of it?
I love your question, because that's strategy number 4. We will be coming to that. So hold on to that, and then you can let us know whether it gets answered there.
So quickly wanted to add one thing on the judgment part of it is always look for context. Yeah. While the situation is happening, the interaction is happening, there is judgment and there is some background and there is some patterns, all of that is happening. Always seek the context. And the context, like which she said, that is somebody doing it on purpose, that's a context. And once you identify that, then the way you deal with it's slightly different than when you're dealing it right in the moment. It could be different. So look for the context. Yep.
Right. And Gayatri says definitely makes interaction easy when not judging. Absolutely. Which means the difficult part of the difficult people is kind of easier to handle. Right?
Correct.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on to the third strategy.
Okay. Again, so this is layer by layer. So now we just spoke about judgment, and we also have to now look at, is the person difficult or the situation difficult? And they are mostly interlocked into each other. So quickly, can you give us examples of difficult people? The person being difficult. What comes to your mind when you say this is a difficult person? Not ready to listen to views, rigid, okay? Not willing to listen to you based on previous experience, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are examples of difficult people, right? Generally, 2 of them are listen and some past experience, okay? So that's a difficult person, okay? And can you give us now an example of what is a difficult situation? Okay. Is it tough? It can be the person whom we are dealing with. So that becomes a situation, but still it's the person, right? It's a difficult person. People with different views. Okay. Okay. Again, people.
Could I give an example just to roadblocks, uncertainties, like maybe targets? Maybe I have a difficult timeline and it may seem like a stretch, a bandwidth stretch. That could be a difficult situation. That's what comes to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. You wanted to add something, Vishwa?
This is what I wanted to say.
Achha,
like
okay.
a target. Yeah,
Target.
that like when I have a target, a timeline, which may seem like a stretch, then that may be a difficult situation for me. And maybe there are other people also. And if it is people that I don't get along with, then the situation feels even more difficult.
Correct. Correct. So while we have answered this to question, difficult person and difficult situation, what came up for you? Because this question is extremely powerful, and the answers that you have given itself reveals your strategy. So did something come up for you while answering these two questions? Because this segues into the next strategy. Okay. Lovely. We aren't able to separate the situation from people. True. And that moment of pause when we can actually, Viktor Frankl, I think, has a quote which says that between stimulus and response, a stimulus and reaction, there is a pause, there is a moment, and that's when you can choose, right? Now, we are not Viktor Frankl, and we are ordinary human beings, and so we get triggered very quickly, and we are ready to shoot, right? And that's when if you can identify and take a moment to understand, am I dealing with a difficult person and or dealing with a difficult situation? So not that they are exclusive to each other or mutually exclusive. They can be both at the same time, or they can be one at one time. So when you're dealing with people, you are very personal in nature, right? There are emotions and feelings. And when we are dealing with situations, it's impersonal in nature. It's more objective and more data oriented. It is situation. So you have some logics to work with that. With people, you don't have logics. With people, you have emotions. So when you can identify, am I dealing with a difficult person and a difficult situation, or am I dealing with a difficult person or not dealing with a difficult person, but it's just a situation that is difficult. But again, there is a background of this person, that time, those many months away, this had happened. And so that if it becomes a difficult person, but it actually is just a situation. And so it requires a lot of self-awareness, a lot of courage to admit that not all the time people are difficult. Sometimes I create the difficulty, in my mind, because I'm dealing with it in a certain way. Does anybody relate to that? Any thoughts coming up in your mind?
May I share something which just happened yesterday, just to strengthen this? It's amazing that the example occurred to me. So I was on a coaching call with this lady, and she is interviewing for a director role in her organization, right? And she has a difficult person who's going to be on the panel, right? And she's got history with this person, and she believes that this person will make life difficult for her so that she does not get to the director position, right? So there is that, and therefore anxiety, right? And it's so interesting that it was exactly this, where the whole process was actually breaking down and saying, okay, if and this person, the who she thinks is the enemy, their strong suit was the technical aspect, whereas the technical aspect is not such a prerequisite for the role, right? So she said, he's going to ask me these difficult questions, and he's going to make sure that, so just see the level of anxiety, because there is a preconceived notion based on past experiences. The situation is difficult in this case, in the sense she wants to get through, she wants to crack it, but because of the history, it's kind of become complex in her head, because it's a difficult person combined with a difficult situation for her. So just one question where we asked, where it was like, okay, how much would it be an impediment for you to get the role if you were not able to answer the technical question? She said, not so much, right? So it actually came crumbling down for her, where the build-up of the combination was so overwhelming. Whereas, like Makarand, like you said, when you can just distinguish that in your head and answer with logic and data, it kind of makes it so much easier, because then it again segues into our next strategy. Created a lot of build up for the fourth strategy, I can see.
So yeah, thanks Sushma. Any thoughts coming up for you guys? Distinguishing between the two. Are you taking a mental inventory of some situations and people in the past or currently, where you're saying, difficult person, difficult situation, both, one of them? if you have doubts or confusion or not able to clarify this point, please. Okay, able to relate. Yes. And like I said, this takes courage. Because it's very easy to judge, isn't it? It just comes naturally to us.
Judge and blame, both, I think. No?
Both, yeah. Yes, takes courage. Lovely, super. Okay, so distinguishing between the two is a very, very critical strategy.
When you are dealing with a person whom you dislike, difficult situation.
Okay. Correct. So the person takes more precedence over the situation that you're dealing with. Does it also happen vice versa? That the situation might be very difficult. Anyways, let's move on.
Yes, we will leave them with pointers to mull over, isn't it? Now for the much awaited fourth strategy.
Yeah.
Be objective. Firstly, what do you think this means?
To the point.
All right. Okay. So the thing is, okay, specific. Yes, focus on what is to be achieved. Absolutely. Usually we do a lot of goal setting with respect to life, with respect to career, what we wish to achieve, and so on. What if we were able to ask ourselves, what do I want to achieve in this situation? What is my goal in this situation? Right? So, Pooja, going back to your question at strategy number 2, now, if I see that the person is doing something deliberately and is habituated to behaving in a particular way, if I had to ask myself, what do I want in this situation? What do I want to achieve? At that point of time, when I have an answer, suppose it is solving the problem at hand, right? Suppose that's the answer. Then I can align my behavior, my emotion, and my thought in order to achieve that outcome which I want, right? So at that time, a difficult person becomes not so difficult to handle, because it's not about them blaming. It's about me taking charge and saying, this is what I want in the situation. I want to be objective, right? So situational goal setting is extremely powerful. It just requires practice and habit, creating a habit of asking, what do I want in this situation, right? Like right now, for me, what I want in this situation is to explain to you this point of being objective, right? So I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to ask you if you have any questions, right? And a lot of times we think about it, right, when we are in a rational frame of mind. But when we are in an emotional state, when we are emotionally disturbed, objectivity goes out of the window. So it's important to pull ourselves back and just ask ourselves, what do I want in this situation, right? And what can I do so that I achieve what I want? Okay. Yes, not be clouded with the other thoughts and be objective. Absolutely.
So, just give you a quick example of people who follow tennis or tennis as a sport. Novak had somebody was interviewing him and asked him that you have a gift in doing so, and he said, no, I want to correct you. I don't have a gift. I've trained myself in being objective. And he has some conscious breathing technique. And he said, while I'm on the court and the other opponent is beating me or giving me a difficult time, because that's a difficult situation and the person is difficult also, right? He's not relenting. The other person is serving hard and winning points. And he says that I need to get objective. So I do some conscious breathing. And within that moment, I don't stay in that emotional state of I'm losing or I'm lost a point or this is difficult. I got a bad call from the referee or the linesman. I just quickly come back to the objective. I need to win this match. And I reset myself. So that's my training over multiple years, that I don't stay in that zone of discomfort or anger or bitching or whatever you call it, blaming, and just come back. So I become objective. And that's a very powerful tool, isn't it? That if we can actually within that moment snap out of our own overthinking, and I think somebody mentioned about clouding your mind, right? You can immediately come back to the objectivity that you want to achieve in that particular situation. And just boom, you're ready to go again. Very, very powerful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Okay. Let's look at
moving on. The next strategy.
Yeah. Okay. So far we have been speaking about others, but there is something that we need to do also. While we have talked about everything that has happened in the first 4 strategies, I want you to do a simple, if you have your pen and paper, just write a rule called 1:3. 1:3. I like a ratio, 1:3. And once you have written it down, I'm going to show you a gesture on the screen. I want you to do it wherever you are. Yeah. And just do it this way. Point a finger like a gun. You can see my hand. Yeah. Just do it this way. And while you're doing it, you'll get to know what that 1:3 means. If not, I'll explain. But this is a technique which was taught to me by my mom many years back. And what she says, or still says, is that when you point a finger at someone, 3 point right back at you, right? And that's where the responsibility comes in. That what are you going to do about this situation? That it is not about the other person, because like we all have accepted, and some of us still don't accept that we can't change others, right? It is a myth. We want everybody to change. We want things to be rosy, nice, and cordial, but that doesn't happen. We got to take responsibility and say, what is the cause in the matter? Am I causing something also? Can I be the cause of change and be objective, not judge, listen very attentively and objectively, and then move on with this situation and this person. So taking responsibility, again, requires authenticity, courage, humility, and some amount of, what should I say, the right word on this is, I am part of the problem, if not always the solution. Because just like everybody else is a difficult person, I am also being a difficult person to somebody somewhere. Does that make sense? And when I recognize that the other person is as equal as I am, or as different as I am, then I can start taking responsibility in terms of what I can do in this situation. And it's just I here. Here there is no teamwork and we and everybody and blah, blah, blah. It is me. I am the person who can change the outcome of this situation or the dealing with this individual. When I take responsibility that what am I doing? What could I change? The way I approach these situations, would the outcome be different? That doesn't mean we will win every time, okay? That doesn't mean we will get the exact expected outcome that we want. But I'm taking responsibility of changing something. And that change is happening within me. Yeah. Sushma has gone into a very zoned out. I can see your face. You want to add something?
I want to ask a question.
Yeah, me?
Because, no, to everyone else. Because this is often a mistake that people make while taking responsibility. What is the difference between taking responsibility and self-blame? Is there a difference or is it the same thing?
We will give a moment for people to think. Responsibility is owning the situation, owning the action.
Right. And versus blame. What is the meaning of blame? Taking responsibility is optimistic versus blame is a pessimistic approach. All right. Self-blame is on the negative aspect. Absolutely. It happened because of me. When you take responsibility, you're no more the victim. Perfect. Awesome. Right? Because when we are not able to distinguish, right? When you say it's all because of me, it's my fault, I should have known better, I should not have done this, you absolutely slip into the victim mode and you are reeling in guilt. And do you know what guilt does? It gives you the license to not change. So you feel guilty, and you're busy feeling guilty, and therefore you're not taking responsibility. You're busy blaming yourself and therefore not taking responsibility. You're not solving it. You're not stepping up and saying, okay, let's do something about it. Right? And a lot of people get confused between taking responsibility and self-blame. So yeah, awesome. Self-blame is a vicious cycle. Absolutely. Super.
Lovely.
And Matt, just to clarify, the visuals comes on the right side. So I was listening to you intently.
Oh, okay.
I was not zoned out. I was zoned in.
Oh, thank you very much. Just checking. It's Sunday morning, yeah.
And therefore, just clarify. That's just us being us, just for the group. So you all know. All right. So these were the 5 strategies. And more is less and less is more. I don't know if it makes sense in this, but we have a bonus strategy for you.
Just before we go into the bonus,
Yes,
Sushma,
yes.
Of the 5 strategies that we have just gone through, which one appeals to you the most, right? Individually, all 5, one of them, 2 of them, which one? Just curious to understand. Be objective, okay? Be objective, okay? All of them being objective, okay?
Awesome.
Lovely. Super.
So very soon we're going to have everyone asking, what do I want in this situation? Correct. Super.
Taking responsibility.
Lovely.
Super.
Since all have chosen be objective, can I give a little metaphor which will help concrete this strategy a little more? Yes, a thumbs up if you want to hear the metaphor. Awesome. All right. So an example that I love to use is that of a football field. Now moving from tennis to football, right? Now, a lot of times we get flustered when the person's being difficult, right? But when we are on the football field, what do we want to do? We want to score, right? How can we score? By either hitting the goal or by protecting your side. I mean, the opponent from hitting the goal on your side, right? Now you get flustered because you think, how can this person be in the opposing team? But when you recognize that it is in the game, you've decided to be in the game, and maybe that person's job requires them to block you and to score a goal also, just like you, right? And the moment you recognize that it's a game, you can keep your emotions aside and say, okay, what do I want to do? And how can I score a goal here? How can I be objective? What can I do in order to score a goal? And we are not talking about playing dirty games here, right? We're talking about just using the metaphor of the field. You've chosen to be in the game, right? And the game is your work or whatever the situation may be. So how can I make sure that I score a goal rather than being flustered that the opposite person is an opponent? You know, that just helps to orient the thought. Does it help?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So with that, we come to the bonus strategy. And this is so simple to understand, but so difficult to implement, right? You need to remember that everybody is different, just like you see the image that is representing this, right? And because everybody is different, they are all contributing in a unique way to the situation at hand, right? And if we were not different, if we were all clones of each other, then there will be so many things that don't get explored in this world. There will be so many things that don't get done in this world, right? Our strengths and weaknesses make us us, and our weaknesses could be someone else's strengths, right? And the moment we recognize that, we're going to be able to operate from a space of acceptance, right? I may still not like certain things which someone else does, right? But when I know that, okay, this person is just being them and they are not me, and they're different and we are all different, the more I practice it, I'm going to be able to not get emotionally disturbed, right? And even if I get irritated or angry, even, I can reorient, get back to being objective and move on, right? So it literally is the starting point of all strategies, where I recognize that everybody is different. There may be some people who get a kick out of creating a difficult situation. But when I recognize that that's who they are, and I don't have to necessarily get flustered and I can still be objective, that puts me in a position of power. Do you agree? Any thoughts? Now that the bonus strategy is out of the bag too, you can feel free to unmute yourself and share anything that comes up for you and anything that you'd like to share before we go.
Accepting makes life easy. Again, just to give us kind of distinction between what Sushma mentioned about responsibility and self-blame, acceptance also doesn't mean resignation. That I say here, this is it. Accepting means this is the situation that I'm dealing with, and this is the person that I'm dealing with in this form, or this is their way of doing it. It's not resigning to the fact, because that gets into, again, a silent blame or a resignation game. That, oh, I can't do anything. So it's very subtle. Accepting doesn't mean that I give up. Accepting means I'm going to double down on what I understand and go deeper into this. And so it's more powerful when the acceptance comes from that stage, rather than I can't do anything, I accept it. So it's just the body language and the change which will make you work in a different form.
Similarly, acceptance does not mean liking what the other person does.
Yeah.
You may dislike it, and you're like, yeah, that person is just being them, and they are who they are. What do I want to do about it?
Lovely.
Yay.
We are on the top of the hour.
Yeah. Yes. In time, as always, isn't it? So that brings us to the end of the session. If you all have any questions, please feel free to ask. And could I stop sharing so that we have the entire screen to ourselves?
You want them to scan this, right?
If you all wish to follow either of us on any of the social media, if you are not already.
Yeah. Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Okay. So any questions, anything that you'd like to share? We've got 3 minutes before we go. You can either unmute yourself or use the chat window, or you can just tell us what you plan to do after the session.
So let me ask a very action-oriented question. Thank you, Gayatri. Come Monday morning, you're going to be back at your workplace. Is there any difficult situation and the person that you're dealing with? And I'm sure there would be, because we work in a complex business environment. Will you try and apply some of the strategies and see how they work? Because it's insightful, it is nice, it's understanding, and you can comprehend them, but the real fun is when you apply them and make them work for you. So have you already thought of doing that Monday morning? Okay, yes, Gayatri says yes. Thank you. Thank you. Easy to apply. Okay, yes. Lovely. Yes. Okay. So any thoughts about the whole session, insightful session, anything that you would like to share with us before we let you get you back on your Sunday? And thank you for joining on a Sunday morning.
Yep. Yes, thank you so much for taking the time and being here. Thank you, Sunil.
Lovely. Yep.
Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you, Pooja. Just so you'll know, there were 30 people who signed up. And we said, okay, we ourselves are in a Sunday mood. I hope it doesn't rub on and people don't show up. It's going to be tricky. But thank you. Thank you for showing up. And it was great to host this. And we plan to do this a little more frequently. And the next topic will be coming up really soon. And since
Yeah.
y'all are on the mailing list, y'all will get the information for sure.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
anyone of you would like to have any more information on Chrysalis, reach either to Sushma or myself. We'll be happy to facilitate. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Sunil. Okay, I think we can call it a day then.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Have a great Sunday.
Have a great
Bye.
Sunday.